Pie Day, hello. As we analyze which teams have navigated the second apron and have found the recipe for success. Which teams are cooking and which teams are just cooked. We also, of course, buy a pie. Today, as Brew has already said, key lime pie.
Delicious.
It's a wonderful pie. There it is. That's like a Celtics slice right there.
It's a big slice.
You know what we should do from now on? Do a little bit of pre-production during the show. Can you take that shot again? We should have a pie tin, okay? You write the teams underneath it, and we have to gobble it up for the reveal.
No, that's just a way for you to be able to eat more pie.
Just an idea.
Only if it's Mississippi mud.
All right. As always, you guys know teams that literally have 0%. Teams aren't going to make the playoffs, teams below 500. Teams that are going to be in the playoffs and are above 500 that are less than 1%ers.
Okay.
This is the list. Those teams are the Grizzlies. Sorry, can't do
Ouch.
it. Rams mad at me about the Knicks putting them here. I'm sorry. I just can't see the Knicks winning 3 playoff series to get to the finals, much less a 4th. The Pistons, Pacers been on there. And the Pistons, I gave them 1% last week because I thought they deserved just a little bit of shine. But let's be honest, they got no chance. They can't win the championship. Great season. Maybe they can upset the Knicks in round 1. I'll pick the Knicks in that series, but give me a break. And the Grizzlies, I'm not even worth talking about. All right, down to 1% from 2%. The Rockets. So here's the deal, Brew. Wildes had been shaming me about only giving the Rockets 1%. So I upped them to 2%.
I like that.
And then this week, I was checking out our friends at DraftKings to see, hey, where does the pie, relate to the Vegas odds?
Yeah.
And you know what the Rockets are to win the championship? 100-1, which is 0.9% actually. So the pie respects them more than the DraftKings does. 1% is just fine. Okay. Down to 2%. The Minnesota Timberwolves. So that loss to Milwaukee was so damaging as far as their ability to stay out of the play-in. I understand they got a great win last night, but I think that they needed to climb, and they still could, climb up to the 4-5 for me to feel good about them having a real chance of going on a run. That has now been kneecapped where they might be facing OKC in round 1. They'd be dead there. Facing the Lakers in round 1, they'd be dead there. They're down to 2%. Up! They've been off the pie. Up to 3%, the Bucks. It's just Giannis.
Yeah.
3% feels like not too much, a fair slice given the respect for Giannis. And in conjunction with that, down to 4%, Denver. Because the argument for Denver versus the argument for Milwaukee is just that they're the same argument. We have an all-time legendary player, maybe we can put the team on his back, basically asking Giannis or Jokic to do what 22-year-old LeBron did in carrying a team to the NBA Finals. But first of all, that LeBron team didn't win the championship. And second of all, that team didn't fire its coach late in the season the way Denver did. Now, maybe that'll help them. I'm penalizing them for the coach firing. Maybe they think it's actually good for them. Go ahead, Brew.
Yeah, they don't feel obviously, I don't think they're going to win the West, but they don't feel as dead in the water as Milwaukee to me. I really don't.
Yeah, but they're also
they didn't lose a huge player. Denver.
They might have. Did you see Jamal Murray's not back?
He's coming back. He got upgraded to.
It feels like he's coming back.
So Michael Malone saying we'll see. Before he got fired, we'll see if he's back by the playoffs. We have to see how healthy he looks. I still don't trust the team defensively, but again, 4%. That's a 1 in 25 shot. Down a touch to 5% is the Warriors. That loss to the Spurs was egregious and damaging. And it's for the Warriors. It's not just about staying out of the play-in. They also, people can say, and Brew, I understand Brew's point that the Lakers wouldn't want to see the Warriors in round 1. You know the Warriors don't want to see in round 1? The Lakers. The Warriors were thinking we can get to the 4 or the 5 line and be on the opposite side of the bracket as the Lakers and get in round 1 Denver, Minnesota, or whomever. They now have to hope they get the reward of getting the Lakers in round 1. If not, they're sitting in the play-in. and the play-in hasn't been kind to Golden State. They're down to 5%. Up to 7%, the Los Angeles Clippers. After starting the year 32-29, they are 16-3 since then. Kawhi Leonard has been outstanding. Kawhi Leonard played a back-to-back for the first time in forever. Norm Powell's been good all year. Zubac is good. I do not think he's an all-NBA player. He's going to get some votes for third-team center if people do the actual. I think he'll show up on some ballots. And so they have that. I notice I'm not mentioning James Harden. I don't think you rely on James Harden, but he might have a playoff moment in the positive column, at least in one of their playoff games. I think they're dangerous. I think the Clippers should be taken seriously. And, man, nobody's talking about how bad people shoot free throws against the wall.
Oh, yeah.
A real home court advantage in the NBA playoffs. Down a touch to 8%, the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is less about what they have or haven't done and more about what the Celtics, more on them, have done. I still think they've earned the respect to have the fourth biggest slice of the pie. But as you can tell, with 3 teams left in the pie, I think this NBA season is a 3-team race for the championship. However, with its smallest slice yet, down to 15%, is Oklahoma City. I didn't love how they played against Houston. I didn't love at all how they played against the Lakers either game. I understand that was a subject of major contention on this show. I don't give them a ton of credit for finishing the Lakers off after the Luka ejection. And I know that Shea said, we feel good about it. I don't know that they actually do. I don't know that they feel like, okay, we proved we're clearly better than the Lakers. Both those games were in their building. They needed the second one way more than the Lakers did from an emotional standpoint. And I thought the Lakers had walked them down and were going to beat them. I also think that all of a sudden, given how the bracket appears to be breaking, where in round 2, they might be playing the Clippers. They might be playing the Warriors. Their path just to the conference finals got harder. They're down to 15%. Up to 25% is the Los Angeles Lakers. 45-8-6 from a weeping Luka Doncic. LeBron James has to get through one more regular season game to get into the playoffs healthy for the first time in a few years. You have Austin Reeves playing the best basketball of his life. You have a rotation that J.J. Redick clearly believes in, and they know who their 8 guys are. However, that is not enough for the biggest slice of the pie. That is reserved for the defending champions, who, again, I understand that Cleveland and OKC have more impressive resumes. I understand that OKC is 2-0 against the Celtics, and Cleveland just last month was down, 28-3, and then came back and beat them. I still think the Celtics have an extra gear they have not tapped into, and their regular season record, as long as it wasn't disastrous, was going to be mostly irrelevant to me. I also think, weirdly, Brew, they are better on the road than at home. So them being on the road for the conference finals, I don't think really bothers them. If we're right about who's going to win the West, they won't be on the road in the NBA finals because Lakers have home court. That is the latest edition of Title Pop.
I like it. I think it was good, and I agree with the Celtics and the Lakers. Obviously, I've got the Lakers winning the West. And the Celtics, look, when you win a championship, it is not unusual to not play your best basketball throughout the regular season. I mean, LeBron did that habitually in his second go-round in Cleveland because you're really gearing up for the real season, which is the playoffs, and I think Boston understands that as well. So I don't really look at it like they weren't as good as Cleveland this year. I just think they had their foot off the gas to some degree.
Can I say one thing about Boston before you go, and I should have said it in there? The only caveat with Boston is how healthy is Jaylen Brown's knee? Now, I don't think that'll matter, honestly, for the first round, maybe 2 rounds of the playoffs, but that is the one. He was the MVP of the conference finals, MVP of the NBA finals, was huge for them. Are they just being super precautionary, or is he really going to be dealing with something over these couple of months? That is the only real concern.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
To me, they need him,
of course,
especially if they meet the Lakers.
Yes.
If they meet the Lakers, they're not beating the Lakers without a fully, nearly 100% Jaylen Brown. My change or edit is I am moving Golden State ahead of the Clippers. I'm putting them right there with the Cavs at 8%. Okay. I just think, look, I think it'd be a fantastic story if the Clippers won the whole thing. I mean, not that I'm rooting for it, but Kawhi, obviously that'd be a huge story. James Harden finally getting over the hump. That would change, as great as his legacy already is, that would change it tremendously.
Yeah.
And then Ty Lue, who is regarded as a great coach and is a great coach, but that's his second
They
ring.
punched Ty Lue into the Hall of Fame, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Like, it would be fantastic. And I wouldn't hate to see it. It's a great storyline. But James Harden, and I hate to even bring up Kawhi just because nobody wants to see injuries, but they have to prove it to me first. I have to see it with both of them before I believe it. All right, and that's just where I am on Harden and Kawhi. The Warriors, meanwhile, I think Steph has proven he's going to play well in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler, we'll see if it's playoff Jimmy. He's been great this regular season for the Warriors. He has an impact beyond his numbers. And then, of course, Draymond is playing high-level ball. And I like what Podziemski and these guys are giving, Moses Moody and these guys are giving them. So I think the Warriors, with their experience and combined with the youth, I've said before, they remind me of the 22 team when they won the championship.
I was looking at the Warriors, box scores the last few games. Like, who are the guys that are even fringe of rotation? Like, who is getting any minutes? So we obviously trust Steph implicitly. Draymond's made a point his whole career. There's a 16-game player and there's an 82-game player. I'm a 16-game player. Great. That's probably why you don't have more Defensive Player of the Year awards, even though you're trying to talk yourself into one. But it's worked out championship-wise. Right. He's played that the right way. And Jimmy Butler has more than earned the benefit of the doubt that he's going to go up a level. Man, I have no idea what we're getting from Pods. I have no. They're right. There's a lot of guys, and he wasn't great against the Spurs, but he had been playing great. There's a lot of guys who are excellent in the regular season in their first playoffs. Pods, this is his first playoffs. Kuminga and Moody were on the championship teams, not big parts of the rotation. Buddy Hield, this might as well be his first playoffs. He was a deep bench guy for the Sixers in his only championship experience. Trace Jackson-Davis, Santos, no playoff experience. All that concerns me. I didn't even mention Quentin Post. Yeah, same thing. And so all of that really does concern me for the Warriors. Like, do they only have three guys that we know will be ready for the playoffs? And even with the Lakers, for example, obviously it's Luke and LeBron, but Austin Reeves has been there. Rui has been there and played well. They have other guys that at least the moment's not going to be. Gabe Vincent, not with the Lakers, but with the damn Heat. Right. You know what I mean? Played the best basketball of his life in the playoffs. They have other guys you feel like you can rely on.
I think Kuminga's going to have a moment or two.
He needs to.
He's had some.
They've been waiting.
This little stretch, he's had some moments of great play.
Earlier in the show, Brew tried to abandon his Clippers. He said,
I did.
They were my Clippers.
He foisted them.
I know, but Brew, the way you were just talking about the Clippers, I was like, is this guy talking to the audience or himself? You're like, man, imagine like James Harden's great legacy.
It would be
Ty
great.
Lue
It would be
and
touchy.
Kawhi.
Bro, I get it. You're just rooting for good storylines.
Yeah, right.
I'm switching it back. I'm giving the Clippers a little bit more. Okay, so he talked about how Kawhi would miss games and pop in. As you mentioned, he played his back-to-back. They're 24-11 with him, outscoring teams. A big point differential guy. They're 11-1 in the last Kawhi's last 12 games, which is great. And then you kind of talked about experience. I didn't know you were going to talk about that, but
my bad.
No, it's fine. If we're going to bang on OKC for being young, then I also think that we've got to give the Clippers a little bit of a bonus experience. No, experience bump. That they're there's only three. There's three teams there with a Finals MVP and a coach who has won an NBA championship, and the Clippers are one of them. So I kind of like. We talk so much about youth and experience, even though Harden's playoff experience can be up and down to be kind. They've got more experience than I think I realized when I looked at this graphic.
So no, that's legitimate. And even guys, we're not like Norman Powell has playoff experience.
They all do, yeah.
Yeah, Bogey's got playoff experience. Like there's no doubt about that. Barkley, in my opinion, has backed himself into a bit of a corner because he can't say the Lakers are
That's
good.
the thing. He just don't wanna say the
so
Lakers.
it's just going to be like he has to spin the wheel on. He has staked out Oklahoma City's the best. Fine, that's proven out over the season. But as far as second best, it can't be the Lakers. And so he's now on the Clippers. By the way, I don't think that's like an outrageous take. I just said I thought in the start of the show the Clippers would be the toughest first-round matchup for the Lakers. I view the Clippers as a team that gets decreasingly dangerous, while some of these other teams get increasingly dangerous.
Because of the
Just
chance.
injury-wise?
Well, because I am certain if the deeper we get into the postseason, the worse Harden will be. And I think Kawhi's injury stuff is a far bigger concern when they're playing every other day than in the beginning. And again, I think some of the commentary about Kawhi's injury has appeared that people are almost rooting for him to get hurt or just been like almost vindictive in the like, oh, we know he's getting hurt. That is, to me, unfair and poor form. But I also think it is our job to be honest that like, hey, that is kind of a looming cloud for them because of what the history has been. Mm-hmm. But also, I've been really impressed by him since March. You know what I mean? Since the beginning of March, he's super efficient. He's playing almost all the games. They've been really good. And you guys know how good I think Ty Lue is. So I understand all that. But I think winning 3 rounds is a tall order. But what do I have him? With the 5th biggest slice? Like, it's pretty good.
And I'll say this. Harden is going to have some great playoff games.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. But then he's going to have these inexplicable clunkers.
But Ty Lue has to manage that.
He's had, I mean, people criticize Doc. I've criticized Doc, but he's had Doc Rivers, D'Antoni. Like he's done this with multiple coaches, and even in the with Philly, when Embiid was out, he was terrific.
He had
45.
He had 45 in one game, then had another huge game with the game winner.
Yeah. Right.
And then in game 6 and 7,
yes,
he was horrible.
But there was no other options those games, right?
No, Embiid was back.
Right.
Embiid was back, and that was the game against Boston to go to the conference finals. They had right.
He'll become inexplicably like
you gotta Rick Pitino
or turn the ball over.
You gotta sit down.
Well,
you gotta
if
sit
he's
down.
Got to sit down, then you're not.
Sorry, I know you're a superstar. Can't do it. Coming up next, NFL over/unders. And why Nick loves the Raiders all of a sudden.
Yeah, he really does.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.